Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it.
Note
for
note.
note.
Don't worry. Be
happy.
I want everyone out there singing that because we have a happy show for you today. We've got something really positive and something that's going to improve your life. Before we even get started, I want to encourage you to go ahead, click that button and become a subscriber, like the show, use the super chat feature, and now use what they call the super thanks feature. You are the ones who are keeping the Ayn Rand Center UK literally on the air with hours of programming a week, original programming with some of the brightest minds of objectivism. We have two of them with you today, but people like James Valiant, Harry Binswanger, Don Watkins, and Chicholina, and so many more. So thank you for supporting us and keeping, as they say, the lights on and the ideas flowing. Ideas are what change the world. And one of those ideas is happiness. Rand wrote a lot about this, quoting Rand now, "Happiness is the successful state of life. Pain is an agent of death. Happiness is the state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values. The purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live." Who else is talking about these ideas but objectivists and objectivism, like our guests today on the Daily Objective, Tal Tsfany and Amanda Maxham. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Hello.
You're tremendously hardworking soldiers in the field of ideas, so we always appreciate you stopping by the Daily Objective. And here you're today. Well, first of all, for those who don't know, and Tal is obviously the CEO of the Ayn Rand Institute. He has a huge history actually in the corporate world. He was the VP of a company called Amdocs, which is listed on the NASDAQ, a successful career in that. Amanda's a PhD in astrophysics. She has a master's in astronomy. She's done all this public policy work, Heartland Institute, the Ayn Rand Institute, and of course, we always recommend her podcast, Rise and Fall, which is just one of our favorites here as well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, you should
both
check
for
out
being
the
here.
new one too. Go to happiestpodcast.com and check out Happiest Man Alive. I think you might know who the happiest man alive is.
Well, yeah, and that's why
No
you're
spoilers here.
to talk about something that should be of the whole purpose. Saying Miss Rand, the purpose of morality is to be happy, to achieve values and success, and that's part of really a big part of what you two are focusing on now, specifically the happiness team. Tal, what is it?
The happiness team is my attempt to build a bridge between understanding that there is a blueprint out there called objectivism that guides you towards understanding the principles of life, who we are as human beings, what is the nature of reality, what is good for us to do. So you get from Rand, you get two layers, right? One is a full understanding of the physics of, how to go about building a life. And then she gives you an ideal, like a Howard Rourke and, a John Galt and a Dagny. And she gives you all those inspiring role models to say that's how you should live. But let's say you've read every fiction and nonfiction book of Ayn Rand. Now what? How does Jonathan figures out, the 18-year-old, 16-year-old Jonathan figures out who he is, what is he passionate about, what kind of path does he need to forge forward and build what we call a career out of life? What are his values in different domains of career and relationships and health and rejuvenation and wealth creation and all those domains? And how do we go about achieving them? Because one of the things that I've figured out is that Ayn Rand was always a hero. I mean, she's one of those people that I'm sure that really knew what they wanted to be from a very early age. They had maniacal focus on it, and they just forged ahead towards a path that they knew is the right one for them. My older son is like that, right? I don't know if you want to ask something.
I wanted just to quickly follow up on this idea. Happiness is something even to, and for those that really want everyone to go check it out, here's the I think fairly new webpage, myhappiness.team. Yeah. And
click that apply button when you're there. If you want to join the happiness team, we got one coming up.
Yes. Yeah, this looks like something that would be a presentation of at Oracle or at Nortel or any kind of real technology company. So this is something that, Tal, you've really systematized. But even before we get into that, I want to just ask why happiness? People say, oh, Ayn Rand, it was about making money. So why not, I don't know, teach a course about making money? Or even like to Amanda's, why not a course about heroism or being successful? I mean, this is and I know it's more than just a course, but what's unique about happiness that is making you spend so much time and so much of the Institute's focus on it?
What else other than happiness? I would say, it's such a complicated concept because we are complicated beings. And I think what I was alluding to is that it's one thing to understand philosophy and discover Rand's life-serving ideas. It's another thing to apply them to yourself and to the only unique human being that will ever exist, that is you. And figuring it out to be your version of Howard Roark, this is exactly what happened to me. When I closed the last page of The Fountainhead, I was standing in my walk-in closet and I was asking myself in the dark, it was midnight, like, who am I going to be? And by the way, it was very violent for me because I was turning 40. I was not a 16-year-old asking like this broad question about the future. It was like, no, it's not working up until now. Or actually, it worked in some aspect, but I want much more than that. So the happiness team is all about diving into this meaning, the deep meaning of this concept, happiness, breaking it apart, understanding Rand's view of it, which is exactly what you read, which is the quote that I think is brilliant. It gives us the whole engineering of how we should think about it. But I went deeper into, okay, what do I do with it question. And so I sat down to write a book about my experience. And suddenly the outline looked like the system. Oh, I did this, and then I did that, and I failed, and I tried again, and I failed, and I tried again, and this is what I came up with. So I figured out how to map my views into a value galaxy and put it on a board and define the value themes out of those concretes. And when I read the 5 different value themes in my life, it's like, this is me. I mean, this is me on paper. And after defining that, it's like, okay, so how am I going to allocate my time to pursue those things? And connecting things together, it's like, wow, what would I do with, like, what do I do with the fact that I'm in tech and my values galaxy says education, philosophy, ideas, presentation, speaking, and doesn't align. So it serves a really nice purpose of self-expression in the technology. It actually makes me money, which is a great value. And then I thought about value domains. What if I separated what makes me money from what is my central purpose? Can they work together? Of course, they should. But sometimes, why? What if I take all the money, I put it in real estate investments, I get passive income, I go write a book? All kinds of thought experiments of how can I derive maximum happiness? So I came up with this big kind of
and so let me just jump in for 1 second. I mean, it's so unique, even the idea that here you are sitting around at whether it's 18 or 30 or 40 or whatever, and thinking about how to maximize my happiness. I mean, that is so indulgent, that's so selfish, because what's good, I'm sure, Amanda, I mean, I don't know too much of your background, but even among non-religious people, the idea is, what helps you is helping others. What do they tell college graduates now? It's like, you want to be happy, you're going to have a life of service to anyone but yourself. Your happiness, if it comes from, but part of what I know, a big part of what you guys are saying is that this is, happiness isn't, it's selfish, isn't it, Amanda? I mean, it's something that is profoundly selfish.
Yeah, it's profoundly, deliciously selfish. It's like the whole point of your life. And there is something, like you said, really, I don't know if it's like a relief or something really empowering about saying, no, I'm going to take that seriously. And it's actually, I not only get that that's the point of my life, and maybe I had an inkling of that, when I was young and I thought life was for me, because when you're a child, like that's what you do. You explore the world as if it was meant just for you. And somehow, you lose that, or people around you tell you, or I, in my case, I told myself, yeah, but you have to be realistic. and you aren't going to get what you really, really, really want from life. And so part of what the happiness team does is it gives you both the confidence to know who really am I? Because that's not an easy question to answer. Who am I, and what do I really actually scientifically respond to? So you have to observe yourself and figure that out. So it's having the confidence that you know who you are and what it is you want out of life. And then the second part is, okay, I've got the confidence, and now I need the courage to actually act on it. And I think of it like, you've seen the Indiana Jones movie where he goes to he's overlooking the chasm, like he's in the temple or something, and he's about to, he's got his notebook with him, and he's like, okay, I think there's a bridge here. There's got to be a bridge here. And then he sprinkles a little bit of sand, and he's like, oh, I can kind of see the bridge, but you got to take that first step. And he's nervous and afraid to do it. And it's gives you the courage to do that. And Tal's told me that confidence and courage adds up to integrity. So I want to plug we have a virtual happiness team intensive coming up May 27th through the 29th. Go to myhappiness.team and hit the apply button, because I mean, you listen to Tal talk here. He's like, he's so excited to share what he's learned about the world with you. And it's a complex problem. You're your own individual person. But we want to help you figure out what it is that you really want out of life and make a plan to go after it, because that's something powerful.
I'm so happy. I'm so kind of excited and intrigued that you're spending so much time and focus on that, because I mean, even in the last 48 hours, the journal had a headline of best books about business. It's not just Ayn Rand. And it's like, people think, oh, Ayn Rand, it's about business. It's about, selfishness, or maybe about low taxes. So, people don't know anything about like the whole purpose of Rand and the kind of result, at least in my experience, I'm not speaking for Miss Rand now, but like living a better life, living a more meaningful life. And thank you, Robert, Regina, Equal to Reality. They're all subscribers to our YouTube channel. It's a couple of shekels or euros or pounds or dollars or whatever it is a month. And it really helps us keep the lights going. And I think helps you be happy too. You always talk about value for value. Thank you, Mary Lean. We need a little more super chats to show that value today. But, I love that, as you said, Tal, this is a translation of Rand's fiction to one's life. And they're great stories, they're exciting stories, but they also are life-changing. What's the old cliche? Oh, I read Ayn Rand and it changed my life. But let me ask you, our tease today was the science of happiness. So isn't happiness just kind of like, hey man, do what you love, or I don't know, retire early, make a lot of money and retire early, write a book like you did? I mean, is there really a science to happiness?
That's the thing I think that is the biggest misconception. I read a lot of self-help books to really understand other points of view. And I have to say, it's a mixed bag of great advice. I just read a book that I really recommend called Designing Your Life, of two Apple engineers who are applying the world of product design to life design. And there's a lot of truths there. But what's common about it is that they're basing their science on nothing. There's no real understanding of what the end goal is. What is happiness? There's no definition. One of the best-selling book is called Stumbling on Happiness. I mean, it's an accident, right? You can't plan for it. It just happens or not. All the self-help gurus are telling you, make more money, start a company. It's like, what if I want to be a teacher? I just want to be in front of kids all day. Should I start a company? No, you shouldn't, right? So there's a lot of baked in premises about what it is. And happiness is such a serious concept. I mean, we should teach every, middle schooler and high schooler, wait a second, right? Let's dive into this idea of what are you here to do? What is the nature of this thing that, you're carrying around, your mind, your body? What is it how does it thrive? So I think what's unique about what we're doing is, I think it's maybe not the first time, but it's a real honest attempt to take the best philosophy that we know of, which is the science of happiness. People are trying to measure it. I see like 63% of the people that did this reported 7% increase in their happiness. It's like, what? What does that mean? And that's how psychology and sociology and whoever thinks that they're thinking that they're. I've heard a speaker, well-known speaker, talk like, "I'm Dr. Happiness, and I can tell you that happiness is all about loving everyone. Just love everyone every day, all day, and your life will be better." That's the level of how corrupt, I would say, the science of happiness is. The science of happiness is truly philosophy. And if you understand that, then you can go down deep into the foundations of the human mind and of reality and the combination of those two things into a morality. And from there, derive not just the physics of how to build your rocket ship of life, but the engineering that I think what Amanda and I are doing is giving you, based on that physics, the engineering tips and tricks on how to think about who you are, ask the deepest questions, bring all of it out with the learning the skills of introspection, which I think are underrated completely. I don't think anyone can truly be happy without having some skills of introspection and understanding what's going on inside as a response to what's going outside. And then taking you all the way to kicking your butt and saying, okay, you said you want this, and you proved to everyone in this accountability team that you want to do this. And we've planned it, and we know how life would look like when you get it. Now go ahead and do it. And that's where the rubber meets the road and all kinds of psychological barriers surface, right? Defense mechanism and all kinds of rationalizations in your head and self-talk that you need to get rid of. And that's where, by the way, what the self-help world does a lot of good, because a lot of those workshops show you that you can do what you want. It's just that you have to quit that negative self-talk. So, really forging through it to the point where you're starting to see that virtuous cycle of I know myself, I know what I want, I'm getting it. Oh, if I can do this, what else can I achieve,
Thank you, Bradley, for your generous contribution, donation to the Ayn Rand Center UK. I mean, you're helping us keep the lights on, keep this programming coming, and keep Tal and Amanda's exploration in and evangelism of happiness. Tal, you said something. Part of what you're doing, from my estimation, now this is my analysis, is really new, because as we said, I mean, there is no kind of voice for happiness as a primary. You think of happiness as something you stumble on, like you said, or it's, what do they always say now? It's the happiest countries on earth. So if you're lucky enough, I guess, to live in Sweden. But like, you remember Nathaniel Branden basically invented the happiness. It wasn't called happiness, the self-esteem movement back in the 70s. Now, at that point, he had left objectivism, he'd been kicked out of objectivism, but so much of Nathaniel Branden was revolutionary and this is my estimation now, but basically learned from Ayn Rand. So, you're building on, I think, a tradition that objectivism always had.
Well,
which is that
I read Nathaniel Branden. I think the book that he wrote under Ayn Rand are way better than what he wrote later on. I have just to say, I think to the point where he wrote things that I don't think are good at all. Yeah. But I think you're right in the sense that he, being a psychologist, he was interested in the state of well-being and self-esteem, and did a lot of work towards that. And I think, in a way, we're continuing to talk about implementing objectivism, right? That's what it means to implement objectivism. And one of the things I did is I partnered with Amanda, because Amanda and I share this passion for engineering, right, and science. And we both really want to understand how things work. So we share the passion of really going down to the level of details of techniques and all kinds of mechanisms that we can apply to make our participants' lives better in a short period of time. By the way, Amanda didn't say it, but it's the first time that we're doing it virtually in a very squeezed manner, which is, there's a reason for that. We think that a lot can happen if you work continuously. So it's going to be 6 hours on a Friday and a 6 hour on a Saturday, and then 4 more hours on a Sunday. And our engineering mind is trying to put out something that keeps evolving and improving, that takes a person from point A, where there's like a little bit of a fogginess about, okay, I understand Rand, I understand what she's saying. Why am I not seeing the results and the payoff of all of this and taking them through a journey with us? And we can talk about the structure of the happiness team, but that's what Amanda and I, set out to do. And I would say it's working.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, go to myhappiness.team right now and apply, because that's the way to, to get yourself on board with the workshop that's coming up. I think what's unique about the happiness team.
And by the way, am I correct that this is not expensive?
Not at this point.
Yeah, this is
we're still
something
experimenting. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so
it's 16 hours. Yeah, 16 hours, and then after that, there's a weekly meeting that goes on for a long time, and you're creating an accountability team that hopefully will go for a long time, like other teams. And it's, what is it, Amanda?
$490 is all. Yeah, it's awesome. I think what's unique about the happiness team, it's like what Tal was saying about, it's this combination of like the science and engineering of happiness. So if you want to hear me going through the happiness team process myself, you should listen to my podcast. It's called Happiest Man Alive. You can find it at happiestpodcast.com. I think, so I was a little bit like, really, I'm going to put a podcast out in the self-help category? I'm a scientist. That's insane. And I know that this whole field, it seems like a whole bunch of like BS. I'm not interested in it. And that was one of the first things that Tal really had to convince me of. Like, no, I am 100% committed to taking a scientific approach to this. And if at any time I feel like this is not scientific, we need to stop and to check it, because that's what you get. I mean, I've seen people like Tony Robbins and others, I don't know, Jordan Peterson too, and they can be really inspirational at times, but I often feel like there's nothing, like it's hollow in a way behind it. It's like, okay, but I was inspired, but I don't really know what to do. And so I think that's the unique combination, is there's this science of what is happiness and all the learning that you can do to really get what it is, like what's the purpose of your life. And then it's the engineering. It's okay, so now how do I make that happen? And one of the cool things about this problem is that it's you. It's like, it's your unique perspective on life. And that's the thing you have to figure out. It's like doing me search, and it's always an interesting, fresh thing to work on. And the reward for it is huge. It's that I could figure this out. I could actually, get to someplace better and improve my life, and find the courage to, like, whatever people on the happiness team finally do. It's like, quit that job, start the company, start, talking to the people in my life in a more honest and meaningful way. There's all sorts of things that people begin to do because they finally, pledge fidelity to who they are, knowing scientifically, yes, this is really who I am. It's awesome.
And I love the fact too, that, I mean, what you're emphasizing here is action, is doing something. I mean, I always feel like Peikoff emphasizes that philosophy isn't something to just kind of sit around and talk about on a college campus. He had a quote I always think about, that if you want something in reality, don't live in fantasy. And the fact that you have systematized this so much into, just something to go out and do, and to kind of get together with some other people. And Amanda just says it's My Happiness Team, myhappiness.team, to go sign up for this. It reminds me very much of kind of what you read about in the objectivist movement in the 1960s, which was a lot of interesting offshoots and projects going on, people learning about art and people learning about education and learning about all the, and bettering their lives in the process. And it wasn't necessarily objectivism, Miss Rand, but it was people inspired by Miss Rand's ideas to create things that were really life-changing and life-affirming.
And
Robert,
just a note before we continue, because I think it's very important. For me, the person that really inspired me is Leonard Peikoff. I mean, Leonard's podcasts and Leonard's radio shows were something I just consumed religiously. I mean, I was so interested in seeing how he applies objectivism in every aspect of life. I remember walking in Chicago, your town. It was freezing, and I'm with my headphones, and I play on a new lecture that he called something in sex. And like, wow, that's going to be interesting, hearing Leonard Peikoff talk about sex. And I remember walking in the street. First, I was at awe at how someone can speak so openly about sex. And then being so, well, first, he's funny. You know how funny Leonard can be. And so I'm cracking up in the street on my way to meet someone. And I'm like, I can't believe that someone is, his attitude towards sex is like a celebration. I've never heard that before. I mean, I've read Rand, I know about, you know, exchanging value for value, but his attitude, the celebratory aspect of, and I mean, he just opened up a world of opportunities for me. I won't share the details, but you can imagine what it does to a person who's like, now I get it. Now I understand why fantasies are good, why you should play at sex and, you know, make it something new every, I mean, just hearing Leonard answering people's questions over the years was really the fabric that allowed me to carry myself from one point before Rand all the way to another point, which is completely much more elevated state of being and thriving. You know, I thought about the fact that I define 4 domain values. One is career-related values, relationships with the different types of relationships in your life. There's health and rejuvenation, everything about, you know, health and fun and activities and hobbies, and even the enjoyment of art, spirituality, and the wealth creation, which is how I'm going to buy the time to pursue my values. So those are 4 domains. And I was thinking about the fact that slowly I figured out how to elevate my life in all 4 domains of values using objectivism. And it's not straightforward. I mean, Rand talks a lot about career, right? Rand talks a lot about the nature of relationship, what type of relationships and all kinds of different relationships. What do you do with health and rejuvenation? How do you find the things that you really find as fun? I mean, real fun. And people are astonished to figure out that there's an underlying common denominator to the things you find as fun. And you can discover much more. Not to mention the fact is, how do you make money? People don't know how to make money. Now you can, I'm sure, train people how to make money better than I do, but they don't know that money can make money. You don't have to work and slave away trying to, no, you can be smart about how to buy more time to allow yourself to do the things that do not generate money, which I urge you to do more of. I mean, people think it's a race for the $1 million or whatever that is, right? And so learning so much about, from Leonard, how to approach this in a life-loving way was a big breakthrough.
Yeah, Ms. Rand has that quote, you know, savings buys time.
Yes.
But you have to have that for morality to do it. She has that wonderful quote that this is a morality that dares to tell you to find happiness is the renunciation of your happiness. That is a bad morality. To value the failures of your life is an insolent negation of morality. But isn't that, as you said, I mean, Amanda, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, young people, in my experience today, and I know we have a lot of people listening, and thank you, Robert, for the support, Marilyn for the support, Marilyn, once again, and we'll get to that really quickly, but like people are almost told these days not to be happy from the reality. And only I think what you and Tal and you and objectivism writ large is doing is saying your life matters, your happiness matters, and here's a systematic way to make it happen. Robert says someday Tal Tsfany's happiness teams, or whatever the program involves into, will be as much a regular OIST coming of age process as the OAC, which is so interesting because the OAC is about kind of learning objectivism, and maybe a lot of what you guys are doing is about learning happiness.
That's a big compliment. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I think of it as, it's, you're talking about like what happens when you're young and the messages that you get, I mean, you certainly get mixed messages. There are a lot of parents, you know, that they love their children and they want to support them. And it's, wow, you're interested in art. That's an amazing thing that you did. But you also get this other message of, you're all going to the same school. We're going to shuffle you through, like, I don't know, like
the
meat and the grinder.
We could do a whole show on that. I think they beat it out of you. I mean, they say, you know, who are you to be happy? You know, you should be focusing on other people, and success is not going to pursue a career like you said, Tal. It's like taking the first 2 years and going and digging latrines in the most far off place with people you've never heard of. So it's like it's systematically beaten out of you that your happiness doesn't even matter. I mean, as someone who did New Textbook of Americanism, I always think of, you know, life, liberty, the pursuit of what? Happiness. Whose happiness? Your happiness. Mary Lean says, I love my happiness team. I've met amazing, supportive people who have a wide range of cool goals. And yes, Tal will kick your butt. Now, wait a minute, I'm paying for this?
Hey, Marilyn. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's like it's what you don't get in school. I remember I was doing like calculus in, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade, and then it was, but you can't do it in school because you have to go through pre-algebra and like just like everybody else. And it's like you're invisible to the things that are good about you and that you are passionate about. It's no one cares and you can't do that. And we're not really going to take that you seriously. That wears you down after a while. And this is the exact opposite. It's like, no, you're passionate about something. You even have like the thread of something you might be interested in. Let's dive into it and see how much you enjoy it. What are the aspects that you really enjoy? Let's look at that and explore it. And it's so personal and so selfish. And it's like, finally, the people around me can see who I am. And they not only appreciate that, but they also, they can't wait for me to do and achieve the things that I want. And there's something on the reverse for being in the happiness team of seeing the people in the team discovering who they are is amazing. And also watching them to go after something that they really want, it inspires you in a way that nothing else does. It's like real people doing real things that are meaningful to them. And that's something that I guess if you had told me that was going to happen, I would have said, yeah, that makes sense. But it was this unexpected thing for me that, wow, how cool is it to watch other people figure themselves out and go after something they really love. It's like, I get emotional just even thinking about it. So come join us, myhappiness.team, come apply.
Yeah. I mean, Marilyn, you have a lot of fans up there, Amanda. Our messaging and our traffic always spikes when you're on the screen, but Marilyn says Amanda is wonderful. Her style is more gentle. Now she says then, oops, it's wonderful, but I'll say I think it's both gentle and wonderful and motivating. All at the same time.
No, I think she's separating between Tal who kicks your butt and Amanda that is more gentle. No, but seriously, I think I want to say something about, you said that the spark is being beaten out of us. As objectivists, we really focus on the idea of altruism, which is, of course, the source of all evil. There's another aspect, which is you are like everybody else. Think about taking a kid, one likes football and the other kid likes poetry, and you sit them in the same classroom in front of the same teacher with the same chair, with the same schedule and the same curriculum. I think we should understand that the thing that is really beaten out of us very early is that we are unique souls, completely unique souls. And we need someone to allow us to discover our individuality to the deepest levels. And I think the heroes, if you see what's common about heroes, is they have a true sense of individuality and they're super uncompromising about it. I mean, if I like to build iPhones, I like to build iPhones. Don't talk to me about anything else. Or if I want to go to Mars, I will go to Mars. I don't care how much it's going to cost and how much energy I need to expend. So there's something that I think, even as objectivists, we have to figure out to ourselves, which is not just not doing for others, but what does it mean to do for me? Mm-hmm. What does it mean to find my happiness? And I think what Amanda was alluding to is that the process we're focusing on in the first part of the workshop is answering the question, who am I? And that's not an easy question to answer, because people give you the statistics of like, I'm 52, I have 3 kids, I got a wife, I live in Atlanta, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I just learned nothing about who you are. Mm. And understanding to talk in a language that is all about what I respond to, the values that are out there, the toys in the sandbox that I find interesting. is something that we're not taught to talk in those kind of terms. And I think that's what I find that we need to do, work with objectivists, people who truly understand everything. They still have the idea of like, yeah, I'm like everybody else and I have a job, and what's wrong? Why do I have a hole in my soul, right? And I think the answer to that is finding or reconnecting with who you are and putting a feasible plan. Because another gap that people have is like, I know who I am, but I cannot build that reality. Me, an actor, a musician, me writing a book, me traveling the world, me, I don't know, being changing my career from this to something completely different. No, it cannot happen. And that is the courage that needs to be built from the understanding that there's really no alternative. You either bet on yourself and what you love and give it all, or you're going to regret.
I mean, and if you know anything about Ayn Rand, is that, she was involved in projects and learning and writing, really, as I understand it, up until her last couple of weeks and hours. I mean, she was approving scripts, she was learning mathematics, and there's that quote about, man is an end to himself. He exists for his own sake. And people always say, oh, well, there's the selfishness, but they even forget with the achievement of his own happiness is his highest moral purpose. So I love that you are making introspection, knowing yourself, a real focus of, and a good and something worth valuing. Enric, thank you for your contribution, your donation, your support. He says the focus on introspection is what is often hidden. That is your happiness, and building that is very valuable on the happiness team. So he is, as they say, another satisfied customer, my happiness team, my happiness team.
Hi, Enric. Yeah, I agree. That having the skills to look inside and figure out what's going on is huge. It was huge for me. So we have a workbook that that we've developed that has exercises in it that helps you to figure out, how do I do that systematically? How do I access the thing inside? It's like, I am having this emotion. I don't really know why, what it means. It's uncomfortable. Or if it's a good emotion, it's like, okay, this is good, but I don't want it to be fleeting. Like I want to know how to get more of that. And you have to be able to look inside and understand, where's the emotion coming from? What is the thing? What's behind it? And if you can understand that, then it's like the key to the universe. It's like, I can now change things. It's like, that's half the problem, is knowing what's going on. And
what is the value and what is because we talk about how value judgments create feelings, right?
Yeah.
So identifying the value at stake, identifying what my subconscious is doing in evaluating that value that is at stake, and then understanding why I get that emotion is such a clarifying, liberating process. And that it uncovers a lot of truths about yourself and your nature, on top of a lot of self-talk and rationalizations and maybe even defense mechanisms that you build for yourself, about stories that you tell yourself about yourself that maybe were injected into your consciousness by external forces. And you have to undo all of those to build the authenticity and the truthfulness about, like, no, I just love dancing. I just love it. And I don't care, people say it's awkward. I just love the move and I want to do more of it. And things like that. So we take.
Yeah, and what's so cool about this, Tal, is that you're not repeating objectivist doctrine, or, this isn't about winning a political argument on Facebook and with a little Ayn Rand meme. This is something that's so more fundamental about ultimately living a better life. And Dr. Brooke, Yaron Brooke always talks about, you have every second is so valuable. And so what you guys are kind of doing with the happiness team is like, in my estimation, is like giving people a manual of how to maximize every second.
Yeah.
Second after second.
That's the idea, to really squeeze out of life the most joy and fulfillment. It's a serious thing. It's not like walking around with a smile all day long. It's engaging in something is super meaningful to you, and where the meaning is coming from and why. And I always say in front of me, there's a big whiteboard with my value map in front of it. And I look at it on a daily basis, many times a day. It's like, yes, I know exactly why this meeting or this engagement is serving those things. And whenever I do something that's like, how does this connect to my value system? And there's no connection, I was like, I should do less of that. So really optimizing and being serious about allocating your time to optimize. Again, going back to the idea that Amanda and I are both engineers, we want to find the optimization formula of how do you really understanding the parameter that the standard by which you have to measure every activity or potential projects. Another thing I talk about is focus, because sometimes there are a lot of competing values. People like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this and I don't know what to do first. That's another problem. It's a good problem to have because you figure out what's meaningful. But how do you now prioritize and kill one of your values to say, I have no time for you, I'm going to go do something else? That is so hard to learn. I play this clip from Johnny Ive, who used to work with Steve Jobs, about not doing the things you really, really want to do is what focus is all about. So really stretching it all the way to the techniques and mechanisms by which you can choose what values to go after, and being serious about achieving them, and splitting between thinking mind and acting mind, which is again something very big that people conflate. Like, oh, should I do it? Yeah, let's go try and do it. And while you're trying to do it, it's like, should I be doing it? No, a complete separation of strategy and tactics, being on the balcony or the dance floor or the strategy room and the battlefield, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of concepts that I think have to do with the process of achievement that I think Howard Roark has baked in, that we need to unpack and really show our participants that this is how you do it. This is how you get serious about something and completely focus, because you want to see yourself succeed and achieve things in reality, to build the motivation and the momentum to go out and achieve bigger and bigger things.
Yeah, Tal's talking about this value galaxy and the value map, and that's something that we teach you to do and help you to develop while you're in the happiness team. And when someone comes with their value galaxy and you can see it, it's like seeing the person in a new wavelength of light, right? So I'm an astronomer, and like you look out in the universe and there's something amazing about it. It's like I put on the X-ray glasses and I can see you now in this added dimension or this added color. It's like I really know who you are and what it is that makes you tick. And so me seeing you is one thing, but you seeing yourself is like, wow, that's so powerful, because now I know what to do. It's like every one of us is given this unique consciousness and this, and we don't really know what to do with it. But if you could learn, figure out how to drive it, I mean, think about all the places you could go.
I love what you guys are doing. I mean, I feel like I really personally grew up, if you will, a little bit when I stopped feeling like I had to prove that Ayn Rand was right or convince anyone, and just feeling like I'm making my life better learning these ideas. These ideas have made my life better. We've talked about it in this program over and over again. And you're doing so much of that with Happiness Team. I'm going to give you an exit question because we are out of time. Okay. I'm going to give you an exit question. We're going to come back with you in just 1 second. Here's the exit question, and you're going to have exactly 1 minute to formulate your answers. Tal, shouldn't people be a little bit embarrassed to ask for help in being happy? I mean, if you know Ayn Rand and, isn't it, shouldn't you feel a bit like, if you're not happy, aren't you depressed? And Amanda, that's your exit question. And Amanda, your exit question is this: your happiness is called the happiest man on earth.
Happiest man alive.
Okay, now we know man is the species. It's not the, So is there a lot of pressure for you to be that happiness man? I mean, don't you wake up some days and feel like shit and just want to get, a yoo-hoo and stay in bed all day? Those are your exit questions. Thank you, Bonnie, for your support. Thank you, Navrel, for your support with 50 of the TRY, thank you so much for that. Thank you for all these contributions. Take this opportunity. You've been with us for this period of time. You're watching after the fact. Become a subscriber. I'm not just saying it to fill up time while they're thinking. Do this. Click the button right now. Like the button right now. You are literally keeping us alive. And we're working on the trader principle here. You're giving us $2, $5, €5. I mean, no offense, but you've spent that on not just Netflix this month, coffee this today. So it means so much to us. Rosie Ginsburg is doing everything to keep this ship alive, to grow it. We're doing in-person events now. We're doing more and more with the biggest names in objectivism. Some of them I can't pronounce, like Nico's his name, but I know that they're the biggest names. So take that opportunity. So first of all, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Tal. You guys are running all over the world, so thank you for being here. And Amanda, I'll go to you first. I mean, is there a lot of pressure to be the happiest man alive every day?
So yes and no. Okay, so there's pressure in a good way. So it's the pressure of like one of the things it tells us is that you take how many, let's see, subtract your age from 100, multiply that by 52. That's the number of weeks that you have to live. And being generous.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Christ,
you got your calculator here?
Yeah, hold on. All right, finish that. I'm going to just look at something quickly on the web here.
And that's it.
Take your age, subtract it by the 100, and then multiply by 52.
Yeah, that's the number of weeks you have left to live. And that's it. Once it's over, it's over. And what are you going to do with that time? And so the pressure is that I've become a lot more impatient and demanding of life, where it's, I've got it. Like, I know who it is that I am and what it is that I want. And if I don't go after it, nobody's going to give it to me. I have to do it, because otherwise, what's the point? I might as well just jump in the box right now, right? So yeah, I've become like much more demanding, and I feel the pressure. I know this is not my question. You asked Tal about being embarrassed about, seeking happiness. There was a time when we first began that I felt like, oh man, aren't I kind of a fraud here? Because I haven't figured it out. I still haven't figured it out. I'm in the process of figuring it out. But I bet you asked Tal, like, have you figured it out completely? It's like, no, it's I'm always striving for more and trying to get better. And there are issues that come up unexpectedly and feelings that I don't understand. But it's like I've built the tools to deal with those. And so
is that kind of Tal? Well, Tal, is that kind of like, people say, oh, I'm not like Howard Roark, or I'm not like John Galt. But your exit question, what I guess we're kind of saying is, hey, it's okay to be seeking happiness. That's a good thing. You don't have to, there's no pressure to I read Rand and I'm an expert in this, I'm happy. But it's a good thing to say, I want a little help having a better life.
Of course. Well, first, you'll never be Howard Roark, and nobody will be you, right? You're so unique. Nobody will ever be you. You know how Ayn Rand, before answering a question, will always try to understand the premise of the question. So I'm asking myself, why would someone ask the question or say I'm embarrassed, or should I be embarrassed? Like, what's leading them to that? And I think it's maybe a fallacy of knowing everything. You should figure out things on your
omniscience.
own. Yeah, omniscient, and being omniscient. And did you ever pick up a book to learn something from someone, or do you expect to learn everything on your own? Do you agree that some people are better at figuring out some aspects of life better than you? I mean, I know nothing about investment like you do. I'm sure if I ever have extra money and thinking about who to give it to make me more money, I'll go to someone like Jonathan and not myself, because I can read your book 100 times. I'm not as passionate as you are. So really understanding that there's knowledge out there that is being produced by people who are passionate about it and maybe are better than you in those domains of either creating knowledge or applying knowledge is, I think, at the bottom of every trade and every exchange that you can have. So if you're asking yourself the question, should I be embarrassed? You're violating that in the sense that, of course, I should not be embarrassed. Why should I be embarrassed to, on first grade, having my teacher saying 2 and 2 is 4. It's like, I'm so embarrassed that you taught me that, because I could have figured that out on my own. No, go and do whatever you need to do to make your life richer, better, and faster, by the way. That's the idea. If it's going to take you 5 years to figure that out, don't wait. Go to do a workshop over a weekend and expedite and cut the corner and do it much faster. As Amanda said, we have a limited, time to live. You should learn as fast as you can, implement as fast as you can. Let me tell you another secret. Okay, let's say you've learned everything. Now this starts an iteration of like, I'm going to try to implement. And once you try to implement everything that you've figured out on your head, it's going to fail. And then you'll integrate it. It's like, what didn't work? Oh, I didn't think about it's going to be that complicated. Let me try it again. So the learning of what is true about you and what you really enjoy it's a lifelong process. And again, this is and the last part, by the way, of the happiness team is the tragedy is that you see people doing everything right, and they're never cashing out on happiness. So even the cashing out, just the last mile of get the happiness out of it, stop and appreciate, celebrate, take a breath, enjoy is what people don't do. And yeah, so the last part that you just showed in that flower at the bottom is pursuit and monitoring. And part of the monitoring aspect is like, when things are working, monitor it. It's like celebrate it. It's like you've reached a milestone. People forget to celebrate and enjoy themselves. So don't be embarrassed. And I would urge you to take a step forward, join the happiness team. I think the power of it, it's not just learning. You get a team of people that are outside of your head, seeing you make good progress or taking a wrong turn. And they are committed to your happiness because you are committed to theirs. And this accountability aspect, I think, is a very powerful aspect of what we're doing in the happiness team.
Well, it's really exciting. And I know, and I hope you guys will we're going to check in with you and you'll check in with us, but everyone needs to go to myhappiness.team and sign up. It's the workbook is free, and it's a valuable resource. So now, if you've been watching the show closely, you know that I've already eaten a Yorkie. This is a British candy bar, only available in Britain, but this is my way of, getting down with our British viewers. Stay tuned. At 8:30 p.m. UK time, James Valiant, expert in objectivism. He'll be discussing Ayn Rand's essay, The Psychology of Psychologizing. So James is always, and we're students of objectivism. To Tal's point, to Amanda's point, you don't have to be an expert. I've been reading this stuff for 20 years. I'm still a student, and it's fun to learn new things and be corrected. So keep tuned into this channel, to our YouTube channel at 10 p.m. UK tonight. It's going to be Artful Tuesdays with Kirk Barbera and Luke Travers. They're going to help you select a painting for your home. So you've got a big white wall.
Oh, yeah.
Want to know what put on it? I have one idea. I don't know if you guys think of this.
Let's see it.
I was kicking my fist.
Oh, yeah.
Look good? All right, we'll see. You're
going to get us kicked off of YouTube. What are you doing, man?
But stay tuned to this channel. We're bringing ideas. We're changing the culture, and one mind at a time. So thank you for making us part of your evening, and we will see you tomorrow. And thank you to Amanda and Tal once again. You guys are great. We're excited about the project.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jonathan.
See you next time on the Daily Objective. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Best promises.
Thank you.